Welcome to the AI Research Roundup. I'm Alex. Today we're looking at a paper from the Hugging Face trending list, published on October 10th, 2025, which was about 3 days ago. The big hook is a unified data plus model plus benchmark recipe that boosts all-scale spatial reasoning with about a 3% gain on the all-scale SpaceVista-Bench versus prior models. The paper is titled SpaceVista All-Scale Visual Spatial Reasoning from MM to KM. And as we will see later, the implications for model training are quite significant. In short, this paper pairs SpaceVista-1M, SpaceVista-7B, and a measurement-aligned SpaceVista-Bench of about 3,000 questions to advance multimodal large language models across millimeter to kilometer scales. Also, the authors shared an official GitHub repo. You'll find the preview SFT training code adapted from Llama-Factory, a 100K SPAC VISTA-1M subset in Share GPT format, environment setup scripts, example YAML configs, LoRa expert training, a bundled transformers fork, and multi-dataset evaluation scripts. Clear usage commands are provided, with models coming soon. The repo details were helpful, and Figure 1 now illustrates the core idea. All-scale spatial reasoning means one system that understands scenes from tiny parts to city blocks using consistent logic. The figure contrasts 5 scales, from millimeter tabletop screws to kilometer drone views. A central timeline shows tasks changing with scale, which signals why single-scale training overfits. The bottom film strips present example questions like distance, camera location, and area estimation. Together, these panels motivate a unified dataset and model across scales. With Figure 1 setting the motivation, Figure 2 shows why broad spatial coverage matters, because scale here means physical size from millimeters to kilometers. The top panel compares model answers across tiny and outdoor scenes, and the wrong guesses illustrate brittle reasoning when size changes. The bottom chart summarizes which datasets cover which scales, and the tall orange bar highlights far wider coverage. Together, these visuals argue that current resources miss key scales, so an all-scale solution is needed. So, Table 1 compares spatial reasoning datasets and benchmarks, showing that SpaceVista-1M spans many scenes with a low questions per scene ratio, which signals greater diversity. Questions per scene ratio means how many questions are asked per video scene, and a lower value usually implies richer language and visuals. The training block lists sources and sizes, with SpaceVista-1M covering about 38,000 scenes. The benchmark block summarizes evaluation sets, and SpaceVista-Bench contains about 3,000 questions. So Figure 4 shows that undifferentiated mixing of scales hurts reasoning, and the remedy is to separate scale knowledge and guide reasoning with progressive rewards. The left panels compare training settings and plot scale discrepancy distributions, which tighten only when scale experts are used. The center pipeline depicts the model that fuses dense visual features with a visual encoder and routes by scale. The right blocks outline a human thinking sketch and the staged reward scheme. So, Figure 4 underscored why scale guidance matters. Table 2 compares performance across 5 spatial benchmarks and shows the proposed model leading among open-source peers. The table indicates that SpaceVista-7B with reinforcement learning reaches about 42% on average, which reflects reliable gains across multi-image and video tasks. The plain fine-tuned version sits just behind, while adding SpaceVista-1M to the base backbone already improves results. Commercial systems still top some columns, yet the gap shrinks on spatially demanding tasks. Alright, 2 takeaways stand out. A unified dataset plus model plus benchmark unlocks spatial reasoning from millimeters to kilometers, and scale experts with progressive rewards and dense features deliver reliable gains, about 3% on their all-scale benchmark. The broader impact spans robotics, autonomous driving, and remote sensing, with stronger evaluation discipline. That is it for this episode of the AI Research Roundup. I am Alex. Thanks for listening.